Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to review Paul McCartney's album New, released October the 14th, 2013. This is my vinyl copy with the blue on the front and the reddy orange on the back, and that came with the original 12 tracks. I'll show you that in a bit. And then the CD came with 2 bonus tracks, or this version of the CD came with 2 bonus tracks at the end. So this is the last album we've had from Paul. There's been rumours of a new album this year, but no news. And we're hoping it's not the last, obviously. I don't think it will be. But Paul was 71 when this came out, and he's now 75. So I think he's got stuff in him left to do, and it's a bit sunny here, so I better be careful with the vinyl. But this came with the gatefold, but unfortunately the gatefold is just a load of writing, which is a bit pointless. And this is the inner sleeve with various logos of New, which is quite amusing, including the New Testament here. And then the vinyl quickly is on this white label. And then it comes with a nice booklet. Get this in. I say a nice booklet, but there are problems with it. So this is photos here, and a few photos inside of the band and stuff. But then this dialogue, incredibly difficult to read. Some more photos as well. The dialogue incredibly difficult to read because it's not separated into paragraphs, and it just makes a pretty unpleasant read, because you have to concentrate so much just to work out what it's saying. And the same with the musicians' credits on the album. And the CD, it's even worse, obviously. I think he got this idea from David Bowie, because on the album the next day, I think it was, all the credits are like massed together in this huge lump of prose with no paragraph breaks or anything. It just makes for a tough read. So that's fairly minor criticism. The cover itself, well, I suppose it's reasonably interesting, but not among Paul's most memorable covers. So this is the McCartney Ultimate Music Guide, and this is the review they gave to New, and it's a fairly positive review by Michael Bonner, and a couple of reviews from the time. Giles Martin's guiding hand allows New to follow the path pioneered under his father's supervision by Revolver, Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, with each song treated as an individual entity and allocated its own musical resources. And then the other reviews here says, New is the sound of an old dog having fun with some old tricks. 4 producers involved here: Paul Epworth, Mark Ronson, Giles Martin and Ethan Johns. So does that make the album sound a bit disjointed? To some extent, yes. I think it's always better to have one producer on an album. It just tends to flow better, but it's not that noticeable that there are multiple producers here. So I think we've had 5 years now to evaluate where this album fits in McCartney's catalogue, and maybe some of the observations were not quite right at the time, for myself anyway. I always thought this album was a little bit mixed, and I had highlights and I had tracks I didn't like. I just listened to it this morning in preparation for this. And we'll go through the tracks. I think I'm going to hold up the CD actually, or maybe I can hold up the vinyl, the sleeve without the vinyl. Save Us is the opening track, and it's a good riff. It's a good riff. By the way, the band is basically his touring band, Rusty Anderson and co. Brian Ray, Wix Wickens on guitar and Abe on drums. So this is a decent riff. It's just lyrically it's quite weak, and don't really know why it needed lyrics at all, really, this track. I mean, apart from the riff, it's nothing as a track, and it was always a disappointment to me as an opener. And if an album starts off with a song that one doesn't particularly like, then it's, as I've said before, you don't tend to reach for it off the shelf. But it's not a disaster as a track. It's just, you know, I compare it to the more or less the opener of Back to the Egg, Getting Closer or something like that. And it's not in the same league, in my opinion. But probably thousands of you out there who disagree. Because I know he played this in concert quite a bit. When I saw him, he played it. Alligator is a much better track. This is the second track. This is more reminiscent of the Wings period, and quite experimental production. I forget which of the four producers produced it, but I think this is a great track. I mean, maybe not great, but pretty damn good. On My Way to Work is an interesting track about riding on the bus and picking up the empty fag packets because they had cigarette cards inside, which Paul used to collect. And I like the lyric on this one. A girl from Chichester who posed for him when he was an art student. I've got a fond memory of Chichester because of where my granny used to live. It's down in Sussex, near the south coast of England. Queenie is next, and a lot of people rave about this track. I just don't particularly like it, and there's a video out there with Johnny Depp and various other celebrities. It's okay, it rocks along quite harmlessly, but it's not top draw Paul, in my opinion, whereas Early Days, the next track, is. It's one of Paul's prime all-time classic ballads, and the only thing which slightly lets it down is the fact that Paul's singing it age 71. If he'd sung it age 31, then it may have been may go down as an all-time classic. As it is, it's pretty much an all-time classic, and Paul sings it pretty well, although he's slightly struggling with the falsetto, but not massively. So the best track on the album so far, Early Days, and good words about walking around with John in their leather jackets, and no one could tell them what to do, and they just went and did their own thing, and they wrote songs together, and the rest is history. New, the title track, closes side one. It's a very jaunty number, which one tires of listening to a little bit on repeated listenings, but kind of effortless, bouncy McCartney sing-along number, very clever, nice a cappella bit at the end. He's done a lot worse than this one. It's a good song. It's just, as I say, if you play it too much, you might get a bit sick of it. Turn over to side two of the vinyl, and we have Appreciate, which is one of the strongest tracks on the album, and very nice, interesting production and interesting instrumentation. And there's a video of this out there with Paul kind of conversing with a robot. It's quite amusing. Check it out. So great track to open side two, and then we have Everybody Out There, which is not a great track, but again, listening to it this morning, I was quite impressed with some of the acoustic guitar strumming, reminiscent of Hope of Deliverance. So there are moments in this song where you think, yeah, this is great, and then he goes into the oh bit in the chorus, and you think, well, why did he do that? Turning it into some kind of football chant. So lyrically, I don't like this song much, but it was quite enjoyable, some of it, apart from the middle bit. When I listened to it this morning, not a disaster. And then Hosanna is the other big ballad on the album, but it's not a big ballad for me. It's fairly forgettable. Not a disaster, but it's in a minor key. It's a little bit depressing. Paul's best ballads over the years for me have been uplifting affairs, and this one doesn't uplift you at all, and doesn't uplift me anyway. It's just quite depressing. I Can Bet is pretty decent. It starts off very well, doesn't quite maintain the first couple of minutes, but good production, very good production all throughout this album, good instrumentation, and the band is obviously knows each other very well, having toured together for several years. So it's an okay track, I can bet, not bad at all. Looking at Her is next, and very interesting because it's a nice kind of ballady type song, and he goes into this mid-late where the production becomes very modern, and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it works pretty well. Planes, hopefully you can hear me with the microphone. So I quite like this track, and then Road finishes the album, and it's okay. It's got some nice piano bits, piano lick in the middle there, but it's not particularly memorable. It's just medium, I would say, not bad. And then the two bonus tracks turned out, starts off very well, and then turns out to be just a bit of filler, really. And then Get Me Out of Here is a very unpretentious song with just acoustic and a few people playing percussions and doing a bit of backing vocals, and quite amusing. Get Me Out of Here. I'm a celebrity. Get Me Out of Here. I like it. I'm not sure it should have been on the album, but it's nice to have as a bonus track. So yeah, this album is, it's not in anywhere near my top McCartney albums, but very glad that he is still recording, and we have new albums coming out from him every few years, and looking forward to the next one. And maybe I'll pick this up on pink vinyl when I see it, but this is the original vinyl from 2013. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you next time.